Listen to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show, live weekdays 9 to noon on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
Is there a truth embargo surrounding the issue of alien life here on Earth? That's the question my next guests are going to be dealing with at an upcoming event right here in Montreal. Paul Hellyer, former Minister of Defense for Canada, David Whitehead, co-founder of Modern Knowledge, which is organizing this event, Disclosure Canada. Good morning.
Good morning, Tommy.
David, tell me first about this event, Disclosure Canada. What is this all about?
Well, we're featuring various speakers that have been covering this subject for quite some time. We're going to be going over the evidence, the documentation, and all kinds of other aspects regarding this issue. This is one of the most popular subjects out there. You can't really find anybody that hasn't heard of a UFO or of an ET or watched something on television or YouTube regarding this. But a lot of people don't know that there's actually serious research and an entire body of research behind this. And so what we're going to do is bring a stellar cast of speakers together in Montreal starting on Friday, and we're going to be heading across the country to 4 different cities, and we're just going to be presenting all the different areas that aren't really being covered through the mainstream media.
Paul, you're giving a presentation called What You Don't See is What You Will Get. What's that about?
Yeah, and it's actually, the show is on Saturday, isn't it, Dave?
Oh, sorry, did I say Friday? Yeah. Sorry, my mistake. It's Saturday, April 4th. That's
I think
correct.
We should get that clear. And
Okay.
what I'm talking about is putting in context the whole situation, the world that people don't know because of the cover-up, not just of the ETs, but of a lot of other things as well. As far back as 1941, the Council on Foreign Relations in the United States, even before World War II was over, started planning on a new empire based in the United States, which would be even grander than the one that Hitler had in mind. It would include all the territory that he hoped to conquer, but also all of North America and New Zealand, Australia, and many of the countries in Southeast Asia. Well, over the years, that has morphed into something even grander. And they have aligned themselves, the Council on Foreign Relations have aligned themselves with a very secretive group called the Bilderbergers, and they have teamed up with another group called the Trilateral Commission that I call the Three Sisters in my latest book, The Money Mafia, A World in Crisis. And they have lined up with what I now call the cabal, which has sort of grown up over the last 60 years, really, that includes the international banking cartel, the international oil cartel.
Now, you're saying that they're covering up the truth. I mean, how successful are they covering it up if you can have a conference this weekend in Montreal and go to 4 other cities across Canada? For people who are trying to cover something up, they're not covering it up very well then, are they?
Well, they're covering up very well. Otherwise, it wouldn't be necessary to have our conferences and do the trip. They have been marvelously successful in lying consistently since 1947 on just about every subject, but certainly on the ET subject. And they have been sending out disinformation and misinformation. And I will show some contemporary examples of that, where the NASA, for example, had a meeting with experts to prepare for the possibility of life from other planets or star systems coming to Earth. Well, they know damn well that they're already here, and that the United States government has been working with them for over 60 years.
Working with what, the aliens?
Absolutely, yeah.
Where
Sure.
are these aliens living?
In some of them in Nevada and Arizona. The tall whites are actually occupying Air Force-owned land in Nevada, have been there for years and cooperating with the United States Air Force, exchanging technology and so on. And the Greys...
And wait, so these tall whites, as you call them, are from another planet?
Absolutely, yes.
And how do they find life here on this planet?
Well, I think they must find it reasonably congenial, or they wouldn't stay.
Okay, so they're staying, and have you spoken to any of them? Has anyone spoken to any of them?
I have spoken for 3 hours to the chap ex-Air Force who was right in the middle of them and worked with them in the 1960s in the Nevada desert. And these things have been documented. The documents are all there, and there are books written about them, but somehow the government has been very successful with their campaign of lying and disinformation, and not having it taken seriously, because in effect the cabal, which is even broader than I mentioned, it includes the CIA, the FBI, the NASA,
and they're all of these people, the CIA, the FBI, the banks, the commissions, the Three Sisters, all of those things, they have been successful at keeping a secret from everybody but the people attending your conference?
They've been successful in keeping it from everybody except a small group of us who have managed to get the documentation that we know that they're lying, and we feel that we have a responsibility to the people of the United States and to Canada and to the world to try and get that information out so that the people will know exactly what's going on.
What are these various aliens who are living, where did you say they're living, in Nevada? Where else?
In the Nevada desert, yeah.
In the Nevada desert. What are they planning? Why is planet Earth so interesting to them?
It's not them I'm worried about. It's the cabal, now international, which is planning a world government, an empire which encompasses most, if not all, of the world, and they're going to try and take it over either by buying it, by using financial means, the banking cartel and so on, or by armed force if necessary, and it could lead to a third world war. And that's the direction in which we're headed, and this is what makes me so terribly nervous and makes me want to get this news out before it's too late, so that the people of the United States, which has been taken over by the cabal, because neither the President of the United States nor the Congress has any real say in what's going on. It's the cabal who are in charge. And they're a bunch of people who don't believe in democracy. They believe in a world dictatorship. And what we want is to get the news out.
And once the news is out, what would we do? Arrest these aliens, interview them? What would you have in mind once the news is out?
I think it's a case of a few million decent, God-fearing Americans recapturing their country for the United States.
And how would they do that? Would they go to get these guys, these aliens?
I think they have to start by getting the President and the Congress convincing them that they had a responsibility to undo the policies of the last 60 years and to start operating democratically and one thing at a time, exposing the truth and reversing the policies that have made the United States into a police state, and do it now before.
How much power do these aliens have, and are there some of their other friends and aliens coming? Even if you warned everybody, wouldn't they say, "Oh, they're on to us," and just invite other aliens from these other planets to show up as reinforcements?
No, the aliens from other planets are on our side.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't know that. We'll continue the discussion. Hold it. We'll continue the discussion. My guest is Paul Hellyer. He's the former Defense Minister of Canada. If you have any questions for him, text your comments, your questions to 514-800. My guest is Paul Hellyer. He's a former Minister of Defense for Canada, talking about Disclosure Canada. Could you tell me about the letter being sent to Jason Kenney, the current Minister of National Defense?
No, I'm not in on that one. So
would you know about that, David?
Yes, this is a letter that was actually put together by Victor Vigiani from D9 Communications, which is an alternative media outlet here in Toronto, as well as it's got contributions from people that have been taking part in this tour, and it's basically citing the pieces of evidence that we actually do have. All right, so regardless of what anyone's particular opinion might be about the specifics, embedded in this letter is the actual information that we've required from the Freedom of Information Act and other things about the actual documentation of the interactions that have been taking place between the military and these craft, whatever these craft may be. And it also includes many other points, and people can check it on our website. They can read it for themselves. They can go through the evidence, and the website is modernknowledge.ca. And this is just an invitation to Jason Kenney to come out and check out the event, to review the evidence, and to then do the right thing with the information that he's been given.
Paul Hellyer is with me as well. He's former Minister of the Defense for Canada. Paul, you mentioned the tall whites, these specific aliens. You said that they're on our side. Why are they restricting themselves to Nevada? Why aren't they coming to the major population centers to address us all?
This is a very difficult question to answer, in a few minutes. I think the whites are, because I was one of the witnesses 2 years ago at the Citizens Disclosure hearing in Washington, and I was so alarmed at the naivety of former congresspeople who had absolutely no idea what was going on in their own country that I started frenetically writing this latest book, which I had no intention to do. It just because there was so much new information that I felt they had to have access to. So I wrote The Money Mafia, A World in Crisis, and tried to get it out early, which I succeeded in doing. And now what we're doing is what I'm doing is talking about all of the things that are in it, including the main species that the U.S. has been working with are the Greys, who are the same ones who were working with the Germans in the 1930s.
All right, so wait, the Greys and the tall whites don't get along with one another?
Well, I don't know.
We don't know.
These are the things that we have to have disclosed.
Right.
And what I'm suggesting, and wasn't my original suggestion, is that they have an amnesty or rescind the National Security Act of 1947 so that the people who have been involved in these things can start telling the truth without winding up in jail, because they've been doing some things that are pretty questionable, and they too are not really known about except in very small circles.
All right. Now, you also you mentioned that you're concerned about all of this could lead to World War III, and that all the great powers are involved and they're colluding.
I didn't say that.
So who is not involved?
Well, I don't know. Most of the people, the ordinary people, are not involved because they don't know about it. They're just the unwitting side, watching from the side, and without knowing what the play really is. The end game is a world dominated by an elite group with a dictatorial government. And for their own benefit.
I understand, and they've got some aliens on their side.
This is what we believe. That's what I believe. They have some aliens on their side, and whether or not these aliens are up to no good or not is something that we have to find out, because they have been doing things that certainly most of the people would be very upset about. They've been running the same kind of genetic engineering experiments in some of the underground bases in the western United States that the Germans were doing.
But how do we know about the other aliens who are concerned about these aliens? How do we know about the animosity between the aliens?
Because there are people, there are ufologists, and there are other people who are in contact with other species. There are a number of species, and they don't all have the same agenda.
Well, who's the expert who would know which ones are friendly and which ones aren't?
Well, that's what they have to come out to our show for, because we're going to have people there who have a pretty good idea.
So some of the experts who know which aliens are which will be at this conference?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, we'll have more details. It's a very important conference. We'll have more details after this. You're listening to the Tommy Schnurmacher Show on CJAD. Stay with us. The conference coming up this weekend, Paul Hellyer, former Minister of the Defense for Canada, David Whitehead, co-founder of Modern Knowledge Organization, which is putting together this Disclosure Canada event this weekend. This texter, Ross, wants to know if Nevada has all of these aliens, how come it's not inundated with more tourists and researchers that would want to meet these aliens?
Say again the question.
He says, if Nevada is so densely populated with aliens, how come it's not inundated with tourists? There are many who would rush there to actually see an alien.
Well, because the answer is very simple. All of the aliens are in areas that are absolutely forbidden to the public. and most of them are underground. There are huge underground facilities there. Dr. Michael Wolf, who was working in the underground areas, one that most people know about is Area 51 and S4, which is not far from it, said 15 years ago that the underground facilities were about the size of Rhode Island and getting bigger all the time.
How many aliens are there?
I have no idea. That's what we want the government to tell us.
And who revealed the fact that they were first there? Who spotted them first?
Well, some of the people who worked there. And there was one, I think, at a conference in Arizona last week, and I haven't looked at the transcript yet, but I know that he was aware. He worked in that area, and I know that Dr. Wolf worked in that area, and I know other people that have.
So these people that did they speak to them or interview them or have any kind of conversations with them?
Well, they've worked with them. That's how they know about them, and a few of them have become whistleblowers when they got out and started telling the truth, which is what.
Why haven't you said that some of the aliens are on our side? Wouldn't they be able to rally the entire planet to their cause if just one of them would leave and tell the truth of what's happening?
I wish I knew the answers to questions like that. They're very concerned about what's going on, and what their plans are, I really don't know, but I know that they're very concerned, particularly about the fact that we have atomic weapons now, and they're concerned that we could blow ourselves up and make our planet uninhabitable. And so
now, we've had those weapons for quite some time. They've known about it for quite some time. What's taking the aliens so long?
Well,
they're concerned. They've been trying to fight that and do something about it with their advanced technology.
Well, they have... we don't know what their plans are. One of the things that I'll be saying is that they have disabled some of the U.S. Intercontinental ballistic missiles from time to time, and whether that's just out of concern and they have some plan to intervene if some psychotic person decided to pull the plug, I don't know. But don't forget this, that the United States has not signed off first strike. That's the first use of atomic weapons, which they have more of than anybody else.
Right, but you're saying the aliens could prevent that if they actually tried.
No, you're asking the wonderful questions, but we have to have disclosure so that the people answering those questions can say, this is what we know, and they know a lot of things we don't know, and that's the reason we're asking for full disclosure. And you're not going to get it piece by piece the way we're getting some of the information out yet from time to time, but you're not going to get as much information as we need until you can cross-examine all the people who have been making the plans for this new world order, they call it.
All right. I thank you very much, Paul Hellyer. The conference, we'll have the details up on my page if you want more details about it. Paul Hellyer, my guest, he's a former Minister of Defense. David Whitehead, co-founder of Modern Knowledge, organizing this conference. I just got a text saying, this is all true, Tommy. Don't take it lightly. I've been researching it for 4 years. Want more information? And go to the conference taking place this weekend in Montreal.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.